Hey, welcome back to the channel. So today is oil change day. So I'm gonna go in here and hope they have some BR1 on the shelf. Let's check it out. That's what we need. Let's get 2 of those. We only need 2. Alright, so now I'm out at the airport, and I flew last night, and this was, I suppose this would be my 4th flight. Yeah, and interestingly enough, I'll show you the picture of what this sky looked like about 15 minutes after I landed last night, and it was pretty special. What I found really interesting was actually what I did is I went up and I flew my kind of my airspeed differentials. I was kind of just 500 feet below the cloud base last night, and they were definitely trying to suck me up into them. At one point I'm nose down climbing, which kind of didn't surprise me, but then I gave myself a little more spacing from the clouds after that. But I was high enough to be able to get all of my data that I needed, and it looks like my airspeed's off by about 7%. So my indicated airspeed is reading 7% low. So fortunately, with the MGL, the current factor inside the instrument is 100%. So all I have to do is go in there, change that to 107, and then I should be reading correctly. So, and we'll check that out again later on. But anyway, we're gonna get in here. There she is. So the half VW requires you to do a first oil change at 5 hours, and after last night's flight, I'm actually at 5.1 hours. Super interesting thing about the flight last night, when I landed, there was actually a 5-knot crosswind, 40 degrees from the left, and it was my best landing yet. So go figure, right? I guess it made me concentrate a little harder or something, I don't know, but it was a really smooth, beautiful landing. And as I'm taxiing in, I'm just laughing at myself because I would have never expected that would be the best. But the tower told me, where it was coming from 0.25 at 5 knots, so I was prepared for it. But man, the Minimax just handled it perfectly. I mean, it was not hard at all to keep on center line, and yeah, and actually I preferred flying with a little bit of wind compared to flying when there's no wind at all. So the plane just climbs better, it landed a lot better. So anyway, so since we're gonna do an oil change down under here, all I have to do is just take the breather off, and then I'm ready to get in there right here, drain the oil. Once that's completely drained, then we'll get it changed. Just after 5 hours, the oil has very little color to it. It actually took it 5 hours to get any color at all, because I was actually having a hard time reading it on the dipstick. So let's just check it real quick. Yeah, it's got a little color finally. You can see it's a bit of a challenge to read it on here, but yeah, it's right where it should be. And after this initial check, or after this initial oil change, then we go into a 25-hour cycle. So we change it every we pick it up every 25 hours. So it's just this first one that had to be at 5. So I'm going to get set up, get the plane up on the blocks and for the tail, and we'll get this oil changed. All right, and we'll do a couple other things as well. While I'm doing this, I wanted to mention something. You can see I lost a little bit of my T here. It was just flapping in the breeze on one of those flights, and I didn't notice it, and I actually lost a little bit of the N as well. So anyway, I'll get that taken care of. But what I currently, when I have to move the tail around, I've been lifting just by the bracket right here, which is not necessarily a problem, but I did want to mention that if I was in an uncovered state and I was doing this again, I have a way to do it, because I put that I don't know if you remember, but I put that inspection plate on the bottom, like right here, and I'm going to accomplish it pretty soon. Whenever I get a stretch of time where I don't have where I can't fly, what I'm going to do is, I really wish I had a handle right here. So I'm going to just get a lightweight aluminum handle and put some blocking on the inside, kind of a piece with some 45s on it that come in here, probably about 6 inches, 8 inches wide or something. Epoxy that in there and then mount a handle right here. It'll be much easier for me to move this around rather than having to reach over the whole plane and pick up the tail by these 2 brackets. So if you're currently building, I highly recommend that you put a bracket right there because you'll definitely use it. Even something just as simple as this. I mean, I have to pick up the plane and put it on the blocks, and to do that, I have to pick it up, like right here, and accomplish that. So. So once I got her on the blocks, then just go around here and chalk the wheels so we can't go anywhere. And that actually shows you where my gauge is reading. I should have about let's see, somewhere around maybe 2.5 gallons in the tank right now, in each one. So that one over there is showing more because in my hanger here, I'm actually, that wheel is lower. So I notice when it just sits here, the fuel kind of normalizes and it ends up with more in this tank than in that one. So yeah, it just cross feeds on its own, and so far I've noticed the tanks are staying pretty balanced without really doing anything. So and when I put fuel in, I put like, before I fly again, I'll put, since I've had 2 flights now on this tank, I'll put 1.5 gallons in each one, and that's basically what I've been flying on, is somewhere around somewhere around maybe 7 gallons of fuel. So, and it's not a problem. So that's what we're going to do for a while. And yeah, so let me get this. Let me get set up here to get that off, get the breather off, and we'll get under there and get this fuel, get this oil draining. All right. All right, so the oil's draining, and then we're just gonna let that do its thing, and gonna go check in with my buddy Frank. He's got some lighter safety wire that I want to get a little bit of from, that I would like to get some from him if he would share. There's a couple clamps that I'd like to safety wire, and I haven't done that before, but I was just reading about it. So, but I'd like to use some lighter weight stuff than what I have. I think I got 40,000. So, yeah. So we're gonna let that drain, and for a while, and then we'll come back and we'll put 2 brand new quarts in, and then that'll be we'll go to the engine logbook and log it in. All right. All right, 2 quarts of fresh oil going in. All right, so I got the oil changed, got everything put back together here. Safety wired the worm gear screw there. That's something I'm just learning to do. So I did the same up here. Safety wired the hose clamps, the worm gear hose clamps up here on the. Just keeps those from being able to back out. Little extra measure of security. And then I just basically went around double checking everything. Like I made sure all of the intake clamps were tight, and yeah, just kind of whatever I can see. Obviously, we talked through the throttle and all that, and I did the trim back there, and everything is super good there. So now I think I was trying to decide if I'm gonna taxi out and get some fuel for next time, so that it's fueled up and ready to go. Since I didn't fuel up last night, I probably should have. Then I was taking a look at where I thought maybe the Genipod is going to mount the little wind generator. I think it's just going to go right in here. I'll put maybe a little plywood disc or something on I'll epoxy it to the floor there to give it a little extra support, and then I'll put it just forward of where those brake lines are coming out, and that'll work good. And then I can come up underneath my wires and stuff can actually come under the floorboard, go over to where you see my, if you can see it, where my pump wires are going up. I can just zip tie to those and carry my wires up there, and then across the top through a couple loops I have and into my instrument panel. I'm trying to figure out exactly how I'm going to do this. On my panel, I have to add a switch and another breaker. So that's going to go, the switch and the breaker can go just up above, right in this area right here, and it'll be the same kind of switch and same kind of breaker. And then I'll just redo that little warning that I have there for starting. But So I have a lithium battery, a LifePo 4 battery, and so what I'm thinking about is the current coming from the Genipod. There's some circuitry in the battery that, if it's not getting the right kind of charge signal for a LifePo battery, it will. It has like a battery management system inside of it, like a chip or something, and there's some lockout things that could potentially happen on the battery if I was just letting the current go straight from the Genipod to the battery. So what I've found is, and I'm hoping this is going to work out, and I'll keep you posted as I go along, is taking it's a little small solar panel charger interface, which is designed for a LifePo battery. So how I'm thinking this will go is we'll come out of the Genipod. The first thing you hit is so you come out of the Genipod and then into a regulator, which is kind of right on the back of the Genipod, and then from there the wires, I believe, if I go to the little solar panel device from there, and then it'll go up into the instrument panel to the switch through the breaker to the switch, and then we'll come down to my terminal block, because obviously my battery is it's the best connection point I have for getting to my battery. So what I'm thinking is that when the generator is on, the signal that's going to actually get to the battery will be conditioned by the little LifePo charger thing for I don't quite know what they call it, but it's just going to be like a little interface in between the generator and the battery, because it's really designed for that very purpose. It's designed to go from a generator application to the battery. So I believe this is going to work, and at least I certainly hope so, and we'll find out together. But it should be good, because according to the Genipod manual, my radio, my fuel pump, my instruments, it should run all of that without having to access the battery at all when I'm up and flying. Of course, when I'm on the ground and just taxiing, it's not going to generate as much power, but I'm probably not using as much either. But with that pump running all the time, it'll just be nice not to have to worry about, after every flight now, since I only have a 2-hour range on the battery with a safety margin, I have to take it out of the plane, I've got to take it home, and I've got to charge it. So because most of my flights have been around an hour, so it's getting charged after an hour, because I don't really want to get back in the plane and do another hour on the battery, because as we found out in testing, when we were running the engine intentionally with the battery in kind of a low state, once it gets below 12 volts, I think it got down to 11 and a half volts, 11.5, something like that. Everything except the engine didn't cut off, of course, because it's running off of the magneto, but the secondary ignition went off and the whole instrument panel went off, and of course, you know, everything else that it was driving, including the fuel pump, shut off. So this will give me some peace of mind. I'm going to need it eventually anyway if I intend to go anywhere, because it's not beyond thinking that I'm gonna fly a couple hours away, and I want to make sure that I've got the energy that it needs. So here was the trade-off. It was either get a bigger battery, that's twice the size of the one I have, which would give me a much bigger, potentially 4-hour range, but it was going to put 2.5 pounds on board, and the Genipod system is 2.5 pounds, so it only makes sense to just keep the battery I have and invest in the generator rather than just putting in a larger battery, that the additional weight is the same that I then have to take out and charge after flying. So yeah, so we'll get that figured out, and we got that on order, so that'll be coming pretty soon, and then we'll make some mods whenever the weather is too crappy to fly. That's a great time to install something like that. So yeah, so just did a quick overview of the whole plane, checking everything. I know I do it on pre-flight anyway, but I went a little deeper, checking clamps and things like that than I typically do, and everything's in really good shape. So it's nothing has come loose. The engine continues to run in the green. I made one adjustment to the needle to get the EGT temps up. This last flight last night, I actually saw 1,000 on one cylinder and 850 on the other, and so Scott said to maybe go another eighth of a turn and see if I can't get to like about 1,100. Max EGT is 1,400, but 1,100 he said is kind of about the sweet spot. So we'll see next flight if that little eighth of a turn made a difference. And then he also let me know that if the engine hesitates with the throttle, then I need to richen, because I'm also leaning the whole thing out. So if that happens, there's a little screw right down here that's actually the low speed screw, and he said not to mess with it if I don't have any little minor hesitation in the engine, just to leave it alone. But if it does, then I just have to take that and just back it out, just barely. He said it's very sensitive, so yeah. And everything is, I mean, I couldn't be happier. It's such a blast to fly, and had a really good time last night. I got up to about 75 miles an hour in a descent, and everything is, you know, there's no flutter, it just felt normal. So anyway, I just wanted to share with you what I'm up to, and it's going to be windy for a few days coming up, so probably it'll be mid next week, maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, before I have an opportunity to get back up again. I need to do that VSI test where I take my watch and I time a 1 minute descent, and I write down starting altitude, ending altitude, and I write down what my instrument is showing as a descent rate, so that I can also get a factor of how that's working out. I have a feeling that that's reading low for both climb and descent, but that test to tell us, because we'll know exactly how far we descended in a minute, and then we can compare that to what the instrument was telling us during that descent. Last night was too turbulent to attempt that. I tried one time, but as I said before, you know, I was kind of nose down climbing, and so that it was not good air for that purpose. So anyway, thanks for hanging out with me. You know, I appreciate it. It's great to have everybody following along this journey, and it's a major blessing. And yeah, catch you later.